Wolf mentality, 12 dark rules of power to become unstoppable. The world rewards the ruthless, not the polite. Power isn't given, it's taken by those who embrace the dark rules of dominance. Listen carefully. The world does not reward kindness, it exploits it. It does not crown the patient, it crowns the predator. Power is never handed to you. It is taken by those willing to become dangerous. While others wait, hope, and ask for permission, wolves move in silence and strike with certainty. This audiobook is not for the moral. It is not for the polite. It is for those who are tired of being ignored, underestimated, and walked over. If you are ready to stop living like prey and start thinking, moving, and winning like a wolf, then stay locked in, because once you see the dark rules of power, you can never unsee them. Chapter 1. Stop explaining yourself. That is not a suggestion. That is a command. Because the moment you feel the urge to explain, you have already given away power. Let's be clear. Power weakens the moment you justify your decisions. Authority collapses the second you feel the need to be understood. Leaders act. Followers explain. That's the key. Most people don't lose power because they are weak. They lose power because they talk too much. They explain their motives. They justify their choices. They defend their direction. And every explanation is a silent confession. I need your approval. You have a choice. You can lead or you can explain. You cannot do both. Look at your own life. How often do you over-communicate? How often do you soften your decisions so they're easier to swallow? How often do you say, "Let me explain," instead of simply moving forward? That's not clarity. That's submission. And submission never earns respect. Here is the dark truth most people refuse to accept. The world does not reward transparency. It rewards certainty. The wolf does not explain why it hunts. It doesn't gather the forest and announce its strategy. It doesn't justify its hunger. It doesn't ask for understanding. It moves. And because it moves without explanation, the forest adapts to the wolf, not the other way around. You don't need their permission, but you've been trained to think you do. From childhood, you were conditioned to explain yourself, to teachers, to parents, to bosses, to authority. Why did you do that? Explain yourself, justify your decision. And slowly, subtly, you learned the wrong lesson, that your actions are only valid if they are approved. That's the flaw. It's not about intelligence. It's not about talent. It's not about morality. It's about discipline. The discipline to act without asking to be understood. That's the key. Look at dominant figures throughout history. They don't run press conferences to explain every move. They don't defend their decisions to the crowd. They move. They let results speak. Meanwhile, the weak beg for understanding. They over-clarify. They over-justify. They overshare. And in doing so, they expose uncertainty. Uncertainty is blood in the water. Predators sense it instantly. You see it in business. The leader announces a direction and moves forward. No long explanations, no emotional disclaimers, no apologies. The team adjusts. But the insecure manager? They justify every call. They soften every decision. They say, "I hope you understand." And the team senses it. They don't follow power. They tolerate weakness. You have a choice. You can be tolerated or you can be respected. Stop explaining yourself. Let's talk about what explanations really are. An explanation is not information. An explanation is a negotiation. You are unconsciously saying, "If I explain well enough, you won't resist." That's not leadership. That's fear dressed up as politeness. The truth is simple and uncomfortable. People don't need to understand you to follow you. They need to feel certainty. That's the key. Certainty creates gravity. Gravity creates obedience. When you explain too much, you dilute gravity. You turn a decision into a discussion. You turn authority into debate. And debate is where power goes to die. The wolf does not explain why it hunts. It doesn't say, "I know this may be inconvenient." It doesn't say, "Let me clarify my intentions." It doesn't say, "I hope this makes sense." It acts. Now, listen carefully. This does not mean you become reckless. It does not mean you become cruel. It does not mean you abandon strategy. It means you stop seeking validation for your direction. There is a difference between communication and justification. Strong leaders communicate outcomes. Weak leaders justify decisions. That's the line. And most people cross it without realizing it. They think explaining makes them look thoughtful. In reality, it makes them look unsure. You don't need their permission. Say it again. You don't need their permission. Every time you explain yourself unnecessarily, you are teaching people how to treat you. You are teaching them that you are negotiable, that your boundaries are flexible, that your decisions are open for approval. And once that lesson is learned, it's very hard to unteach. This is why wolves move in silence. Silence preserves authority. Silence protects leverage. Silence forces others to adapt. The more you explain, the more power you hand away. That's the key. Think about the most powerful people you've encountered. They speak less. They move decisively. They do not narrate their lives. They don't announce their next move. They don't defend their past move. They don't ask for consensus. They decide, and others fall in line. Contrast that with people who talk constantly. They explain their goals. They explain their emotions. They explain their reasoning, and yet nothing changes. Why? Because explanations don't create outcomes. Decisions do. You have a choice. You can spend your energy explaining your intentions, or you can spend your energy executing them. One builds power, the other drains it. Here is a rule you must internalize. If you owe no explanation, give none. Most explanations are not required, they are volunteered, and volunteered explanations are weakness leaks. You don't explain why you're unavailable. You don't explain why you made a decision. You don't explain why you changed direction. You state, you move, you adjust. That's it. But what if they misunderstand me? Good. Misunderstanding filters the weak. People who need constant explanation are not built for power dynamics. They are built for comfort, and comfort never creates dominance. The wolf does not explain why it hunts. It doesn't care who disagrees. It doesn't wait for consensus. It doesn't fear misunderstanding. It trusts its instincts and commits fully. That's the discipline. And discipline is what separates predators from prey. Let's make this practical. Starting today, you stop over-explaining. You replace explanations with statements. Instead of, "Let me explain why I made this decision," you say, "This is the decision." Instead of, "I hope you understand why," you say, "This is the direction we're going." Instead of, "I didn't mean it that way," you say, "Here's what's happening next." That's the shift. You're not rude. You're not defensive. You're decisive. And decisiveness is magnetic. People follow clarity, not comfort. That's the key. There will be resistance at first. People who benefited from your over-explaining will feel uncomfortable. Good. That discomfort is proof you are reclaiming power. Remember this. Every time you explain, you lower your frame to meet theirs. Every time you state, you force them to rise to meet yours. Power always flows to the highest frame. Stop lowering yours. You have a choice. You can keep explaining and stay small. Or you can stop explaining and let your actions speak. One creates respect. The other creates noise. The wolf does not explain why it hunts. It hunts because it must. It moves because it chooses. It dominates because it acts. This chapter is about reclaiming authority over your own life. Not through aggression, not through arrogance, but through discipline. The discipline of silence. The discipline of certainty. The discipline of action without apology. You mastered the first rule: stop explaining yourself. Now, if you truly want power, you must confront the next truth: that being liked is one of the most dangerous addictions of all. You stopped explaining. Now, let's go deeper. Chapter 2. Become comfortable being disliked. If you want power, you must make peace with being disliked. Not tolerated, not misunderstood, disliked. This is where most people fail. They say they want power. They say they want respect. But what they really want is approval. And approval is a leash. The more you need to be liked, the easier you are to control. That's the key. Look at your behavior, not your intentions, your behavior. How often do you hesitate before speaking because you don't want to offend? How often do you adjust your truth to keep the peace? How often do you shrink your ambition so others feel comfortable? That's not kindness. That's fear. And fear makes you predictable. You have a choice. You can be liked and controlled, or you can be respected and resisted. You cannot be powerful and universally liked at the same time. That's not opinion, that's law. Every dominant figure in history understood this early. They accepted resistance as the price of authority. They didn't chase approval, they allowed opposition. And because they were willing to lose people, they gained power. If everyone likes you, no one fears losing you. Say it again. If everyone likes you, no one fears losing you. And if no one fears losing you, you have no leverage. Power is leverage. Leverage comes from scarcity. Scarcity comes from boundaries. Boundaries create friction. Friction creates dislike. That's the equation. Most people spend their lives trying to be agreeable, trying to be easy, trying to be liked. And in doing so, they make themselves disposable. Nice people are replaceable. Necessary people are not. It's not about being cruel. It's not about being arrogant. It's not about being loud. It's about discipline. It's not about approval. It's about self-respect. It's not about popularity. It's about authority. It's not about comfort. It's about control. That's the key. High-power individuals don't avoid controversy, they use it. They understand that resistance is proof of impact. If no one is uncomfortable around you, you're not leading, you're blending in. Look at business leaders who changed industries. They were mocked before they were respected, criticized before they were celebrated, hated before they were copied. Look at political leaders who reshaped nations. They polarized, they divided opinion, they forced people to choose sides, and that choice created loyalty. Approval never creates loyalty. Conviction does. You don't need their permission. You don't need consensus. You don't need applause. You need clarity. And clarity often offends people who benefit from confusion. Here's the uncomfortable truth. People don't dislike you because you're wrong. They dislike you because you stopped accommodating them. And accommodation is the currency of the weak. When you say yes to keep the peace, you say no to your authority. When you soften your stance to be liked, you harden your ceiling. When you avoid conflict, you avoid growth. You have a choice. You can keep everyone comfortable, or you can move forward. You cannot do both. The wolf understands this instinctively. The wolf is not liked by the sheep. It is respected by the forest. It doesn't try to win affection, it establishes presence. The wolf does not apologize for its nature, and neither should you. Let's talk about the addiction to approval. Approval feels good. It triggers safety. It signals belonging. But belonging is not power. Belonging is comfort, and comfort makes you compliant. The need to be liked makes you hesitate. It makes you over-explain. It makes you compromise too early. And compromise, when done from fear, is surrender. That's the key. People who fear being disliked never say what needs to be said. They never do what needs to be done. They never become who they're capable of becoming, because someone might not approve. So what? Disapproval is not dangerous. It's feedback, and often it's confirmation that you're on the right path. When you stop seeking approval, something powerful happens. You become unpredictable. You stop being managed by other people's emotions. You stop adjusting your identity to fit the room. You stop leaking energy trying to please everyone. That energy comes back to you as focus. Focus builds momentum. Momentum builds dominance. That's the key. Now, let's get practical. From today forward, you must stop performing for acceptance. You stop explaining yourself to be liked. You stop softening your tone to be palatable. You stop chasing validation through agreement. Instead, you speak clearly. You act decisively. You let reactions happen. Some people will like it, some people will hate it. Both are irrelevant. What matters is that you are no longer controlled. If someone withdraws approval when you assert boundaries, they were never loyal to you, only to the version of you they could manipulate. That's a hard truth, but it's freeing. You have a choice. You can keep shrinking to keep people around, or you can grow and let the weak fall away. Growth always costs relationships. Power always filters your circle. The wolf does not run with the entire forest. It runs with those who can keep up. And those who can't, they complain, they criticize, they gossip. Let them. Their disapproval is the sound of separation, and separation is strength. If everyone likes you, no one fears losing you. Powerful people are not liked. They are respected. They are needed. They are watched carefully. Their absence is felt. Ask yourself this honestly. If you disappeared tomorrow, would anyone feel the loss of your authority or only the loss of your friendliness? That answer tells you everything. It's not about being harsh. It's not about being distant. It's about being grounded. You don't react emotionally to disapproval. You observe it. You don't chase people who pull away. You let them go. You don't negotiate your standards to keep peace. You enforce them. That's discipline. It's not about ego. It's about control. It's not about dominance. It's about independence. It's not about being feared. It's about being unmoved. That's the key. Once you are comfortable being disliked, you become dangerous. Because now you are free. Free to say no. Free to say the truth. Free to act without apology. And people feel that freedom. Some will resent it. Some will respect it. Some will be drawn to it. All of them will adjust. That's power. The wolf does not chase acceptance. It commands territory. This chapter is about severing the leash of approval, the leash of validation, the leash of needing to be liked. Once that leash is gone, your movement changes, your voice changes, your presence changes. You stop reacting. You start leading. You mastered the discipline of being disliked. Now you are ready for the next weapon, the one that severs loud amateurs from silent predators. You let go of approval. Now you must learn restraint. Chapter 3. Silence is a weapon. Silence is not weakness. Silence is leverage. Loud people seek validation. Silent people gather power. That's the key. Most people talk too much. They explain. They justify. They react. And every word they release gives away position. You have a choice. You can speak to feel important, or you can stay silent to become dangerous. The wolf understands this instinctively. The wolf watches. The wolf waits. The wolf wins. Silence creates pressure. Pressure forces mistakes. Mistakes create openings. That's how power moves. Look around you. Who is always talking? Who fills the silence? Who rushes to respond? Those people are nervous. They are uncomfortable with stillness because stillness exposes truth. When you speak too fast, you reveal intent. When you speak too much, you reveal insecurity. When you fill silence, you surrender leverage. You don't need their permission. You don't need to announce your thoughts. You don't need to broadcast your feelings. You don't need to narrate your strategy. Silence keeps your options open. That's the key. In negotiations, silence is dominance. The moment you stop talking, the other person feels compelled to fill the gap. They reveal information. They soften their stance. They negotiate against themselves. You simply listen. They speak because they are uncomfortable. You stay silent because you are in control. Silence forces the other side to expose their priorities. That's not manipulation, that's discipline. It's not about aggression, it's about restraint. It's not about intimidation, it's about positioning. It's not about noise, it's about timing. That's the key. In conflict, silence is armor. Most people react emotionally. They defend. They argue. They escalate. And in doing so, they give the other person exactly what they want: reaction. Reaction is fuel. When you stay silent, you deny them fuel. You don't correct immediately. You don't defend impulsively. You don't chase resolution on their timeline. You observe. And observation gives you clarity. Clarity gives you control. The wolf does not bark when provoked. It studies. The wolf watches. The wolf waits. The wolf wins. In leadership, silence signals authority. Leaders who talk constantly appear uncertain. Leaders who speak sparingly command attention. When you speak less, your words carry weight. When you speak only when necessary, people listen. That's the key. Silence creates anticipation. Anticipation creates focus. Focus creates compliance. Think about the leaders you respect most. They don't dominate the room with noise. They don't fill every gap with commentary. They pause. They think. They choose words carefully. And because they are selective, their words matter. You have a choice. You can be heard often, or you can be listened to deeply. Power chooses depth over volume. Silence also protects you. Every word you don't say cannot be used against you. Every thought you keep private cannot be twisted. Every plan you withhold cannot be sabotaged. That's not paranoia, that's strategy. It's not about secrecy, it's about discipline. It's not about hiding, it's about timing. It's not about fear, it's about leverage. That's the key. Most people overshare because they crave connection. They want reassurance. They want agreement. But power does not come from being understood. It comes from being respected. And respect grows in silence. Silence forces others to project. They assume, they speculate, they guess. And in that guessing, they reveal themselves. The quiet observer sees everything. The wolf watches. Let's make this practical. From now on, you pause before responding.
Not because you're unsure, but because you're disciplined. You let questions hang. You let accusations sit. You let tension build. You don't rush to relieve discomfort. Discomfort is useful. Discomfort makes people honest. That's the key. In meetings, you speak last or not at all. You listen for patterns. You listen for contradictions. You listen for what isn't being said. Then, when you do speak, you speak with precision. Short, clear, final. No filler, no justifications. That's authority. In personal conflicts, you stop reacting emotionally. You acknowledge without explaining. You respond without defending. You choose silence when others expect noise. And that shift alone changes the entire dynamic. You have a choice. You can react and lose frame, or you can stay silent and hold it. Frame is everything. Silence also builds patience. Patience is power delayed, not denied. When you can wait, you are not desperate. When you are not desperate, you are not controllable. Desperation makes people loud. Confidence makes them quiet. That's the key. The wolf does not rush. It does not chase every movement. It does not respond to every provocation. It waits for the moment that guarantees success. You must adopt the same discipline. You stop responding to everything. You stop explaining every silence. You stop apologizing for pauses. Silence does not need justification. You don't need their permission. People may misinterpret your silence. Let them. Misinterpretation filters intent. Those who matter will ask. Those who don't will assume. Either way, you gain information. Silence is a test. Who can sit with uncertainty? Who needs immediate reassurance? Those who need constant reassurance cannot handle power. The wolf watches. Silence also strengthens your internal world.
When you talk less, you think more. When you think more, you see patterns. When you see patterns, you anticipate moves. Anticipation is dominance. That's the key. This chapter is not about disappearing. It's about choosing when to be present. It's about replacing impulse with intention. It's about trading noise for leverage. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. The quietest one is usually calculating. You have a choice. You can keep announcing yourself, or you can let others feel your presence without explanation. One is performance, the other is power. The wolf does not announce its arrival. The forest feels it. The wolf watches. The wolf waits. The wolf wins. You've learned to stop explaining. You've learned to accept being disliked. Now you've learned to weaponize silence. But silence alone is not enough. Next, you must learn how to hide your true strength, because showing everything makes you predictable. You mastered restraint. Now you must master mystery.
Chapter 4. Never reveal your full strength. Not your plans, not your capacity, not your next move. Because the moment people think they understand you completely, they stop fearing you. That's the key. Showing everything makes you predictable, and predictability gets you replaced. Look around. Who gets overlooked? Who gets bypassed? Who gets outmaneuvered? The ones who showed their entire hand too early. You have a choice. You can impress people today, or you can dominate tomorrow. You cannot do both. Power does not come from being seen. It comes from being uncertain. Mystery multiplies authority. Say it again. Mystery multiplies authority. Most people think strength is about visibility. They want to prove. They want to display. They want recognition. So they show everything they can do. They announce their skills, they broadcast their intentions, and in doing so, they become easy to map, easy to counter, easy to replace, easy to control. That's the flaw. It's not about talent, it's about discipline. It's not about ability, it's about restraint. It's not about power, it's about timing. That's the key. Look at warfare. The most devastating forces are never fully revealed until the moment of impact. Armies use deception. They hide numbers. They conceal capabilities. They misdirect attention. Why? Because once the enemy knows your full strength, they adapt. Adaptation neutralizes advantage. The same rule applies to your life. In business, the strongest players don't show everything. They don't reveal the full strategy. They don't announce future capabilities. They underpromise, they overdeliver. They strike when the field is unprepared.
While amateurs brag, professionals build quietly. Mystery multiplies authority. In social dynamics, it's the same. The person who reveals everything about themselves immediately loses intrigue. There's nothing left to discover, nothing left to respect. People value what they can't fully access. Access creates scarcity. Scarcity creates value. Value creates power. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need to show how smart you are. You don't need to show how strong you are. You don't need to show how capable you are. Let results reveal you, slowly. The wolf does not bare its teeth constantly. It keeps them hidden until the moment they matter. The wolf moves with calm confidence because it knows something others don't. That knowledge is its edge, and edges are never advertised. You have a choice. You can seek validation by displaying your strength, or you can build dominance by concealing it. One feeds the ego, the other builds leverage. That's the key. People who reveal everything too early become predictable. Predictable people are easy to manage, easy to manipulate, easy to replace. Think about your workplace. Who gets sidelined? The one who always shows their full capability without boundaries. They become a utility, not a force. They become useful, but not respected. Because respect requires uncertainty. When people don't know your limits, they hesitate. Hesitation gives you time. Time gives you control. That's power. Mystery multiplies authority. Let's get practical. From today forward, you stop oversharing your goals. You stop telling everyone what you're building. You stop announcing your next move. You stop explaining your full vision. You execute quietly. You let progress speak. Silence plus results creates fear. Noise plus promises creates doubt. That's the key. You also stop giving everything at once. In conversations, you don't reveal all your thoughts. In negotiations, you don't reveal your full position. In leadership, you don't reveal all your contingencies. You keep something back, always. Not because you're insecure, but because you're strategic. It's not about deception, it's about discipline. It's not about manipulation, it's about leverage. It's not about hiding, it's about control. That's the key. The most dangerous person in the room is the one whose full capability is unknown. They could be weak, they could be unstoppable. That uncertainty changes behavior. People test less, they provoke less, they respect more. The wolf does not announce its strength. It allows others to underestimate it. Underestimation is an advantage. When people think you're operating at full capacity, they stop being cautious. When they think you're limited, they expose themselves. That's when you move. The wolf waits. Mystery multiplies authority. This also applies internally. When you reveal everything externally, you burn motivation. You leak energy through talk. Talking feels like progress, but it isn't. Execution is progress. The discipline of restraint keeps hunger alive. Hunger fuels consistency. Consistency builds dominance. That's the key. You have a choice. You can talk about your potential, or you can preserve it. One satisfies the ego, the other creates results. Never forget this. People don't need to know how strong you are. They only need to feel it when it's too late to resist. That's power. That's leverage. That's the wolf mentality. The wolf does not show its full strength to the forest. It lets the forest guess, and guessing keeps everyone alert. You've learned to stop explaining. You've learned to be disliked. You've learned to use silence. Now you've learned restraint. But restraint without emotional control collapses under pressure. So next, you must master the most dangerous battlefield of all, your own reactions. You hid your strength. Now you must harden your execution.
Chapter 5. Detach emotion from execution. Emotion is not the enemy, but emotion is in control. Emotion clouds judgment. Power requires cold clarity. That's the key. Most people don't lose because they lack skill. They lose because they react. They react to disrespect. They react to fear. They react to pressure. And the reaction is exposure. When you react emotionally, you show your hand. You reveal triggers. You reveal priorities. You reveal weakness. You have a choice. You can feel and lose control, or you can feel and still execute. Power demands the second. Feel private, decide ruthlessly. Say it again. Feel private, decide ruthlessly. This is where most people confuse suppression with discipline. Discipline is not denying emotion. Discipline is delaying it. You don't eliminate anger. You store it. You refine it. You use it with precision. You don't deny fear. You acknowledge it, then move anyway. You don't broadcast frustration. You convert it into a strategy. That's the key. Emotionally, people are easy to manipulate. If I can provoke you, I can steer you. If I can rush you, I can control you. If I can flatter you, I can soften you. That's not psychology, that's leverage. And leverage always favors the calm. Look at negotiations. The person who gets emotional first loses. They raise their voice. They rush to fill the silence. They concede too early. Why? Because emotion creates urgency. Urgency creates mistakes. The calm one waits. Waiting shifts power. Feel private. Decide ruthlessly. In conflict, it's the same. When someone insults you, they want a reaction. When someone disrespects you, they want to pull you off center. If you react, you've already lost frame. Frame is everything. The person who controls the emotional frame controls the outcome. That's the key. The wolf does not react emotionally to noise. It does not chase every movement. It does not respond to every provocation. It stays centered. Centeredness is dominance. You don't need their permission. You don't need to defend your ego. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to respond immediately. Immediate reactions are for the weak. Deliberate responses are for the powerful. Most people confuse intensity with effectiveness. They think being emotional means being passionate. They think reacting means being authentic. Wrong. Authenticity without discipline is chaos. Power requires control. It's not about passion, it's about precision. It's not about emotion, it's about execution. It's not about how you feel, it's about what you do next. That's the key. Let's talk about how emotion exposes weakness. When you get angry publicly, people learn what angers you. When you get defensive, people learn where you're insecure. When you get excited too early, people learn what you want. Information is power. Every emotional reaction is information you didn't need to give away. The calm observer collects data. The emotional reactor leaks it. You have a choice. You can be the data source, or you can be the data collector. Power always chooses the second. Feel private. Decide ruthlessly. This does not mean you become cold inside. It means you become cold in execution. Inside, you can feel everything: anger, disappointment, desire, ambition. But on the outside, you are steady. Steadiness unsettles emotional people. They can't read you. They can't predict you. They can't control you.
That's power. In leadership, emotional reactions are poison. A leader who reacts emotionally creates instability. The team never knows what mood they'll get. Decisions become unpredictable, not in a good way. Predictability of temperament creates safety. Safety creates trust. Trust creates execution. That's the key. You don't punish when angry. You don't reward when excited. You don't decide when you're emotional. You wait. Waiting protects you from yourself. You have a choice. You can let emotion drive decisions, or you can let emotion inform decisions. One is reckless, the other is disciplined. Here's the discipline. When emotion hits, pause. Not for minutes, for moments. You breathe, you slow your body, you regain center. Then you decide. This pause is where power lives. Most people never pause. They fire off messages. They make impulsive moves. They regret it later. Regret is the tax of emotional execution. The wolf does not regret. It calculates. Feel private. Decide ruthlessly. Let's make this practical. From today forward, you implement a rule. No major decision while emotionally elevated. Not angry, not excited, not afraid. You let emotions settle. Then you act. This alone will separate you from 90% of people, because most people are slaves to their nervous system. You become its master. It's not about control, it's about command. It's not about suppression, it's about timing. It's not about coldness, it's about clarity. That's the key. You also stop expressing emotion as a strategy. No emotional threats, no emotional ultimatums, no emotional displays to gain leverage. Those tactics only work on weaker people, and they fail against disciplined ones. Silence plus calm presence is stronger than any emotional outburst. When others escalate, you de-escalate. When others rush, you slow down. When others panic, you observe. And in observation, you see openings. Openings are invisible to emotional minds. The wolf watches. Emotion also ties you to outcomes. When you're emotionally attached, you force results. When you're detached, you allow timing. Detachment creates patience. Patience creates precision. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need validation to stay calm. You don't need agreement to stay centered. You don't need approval to execute. You need discipline. Feel private. Decide ruthlessly. This chapter is about emotional sovereignty, about reclaiming control over your reactions, about refusing to be provoked into mistakes, about choosing clarity over comfort. Once you detach emotion from execution, you become extremely hard to manipulate. People try. They fail. Because there's nothing to grab. You're steady. You're grounded. you're dangerous. You've learned to stop explaining. You've learned to accept dislike. You've learned silence. You've learned restraint. Now you've learned emotional control. But power also depends on access. Who can reach you? Who can interrupt you? Who can consume your time? That's the next battlefield. You mastered your reactions. Now let's talk about your availability.
Chapter 6. Control access to you. Availability lowers value. Distance creates gravity. That's the key. Most people give themselves away too easily, their time, their attention, their energy, and then they wonder why they are ignored, interrupted, and overlooked. You have a choice. You can be available to everyone, or you can be valuable to the right people. You cannot be both. Power begins the moment you control access to yourself. The wolf understands this instinctively. The wolf is seen when it chooses. It does not roam constantly. It does not respond to every sound. It does not make itself easy to reach, and because of that, its presence carries weight. Look at your own life. How reachable are you? How interruptible? How responsive? Do you answer every message immediately? Do you accept every meeting request? Do you let anyone consume your time without consequence? That's not generosity. That's leakage, and leaked energy builds nothing. That's the flaw. It's not about kindness, it's about discipline. It's not about being busy, it's about boundaries. It's not about working harder, it's about controlling access. That's the key. High-status individuals are never fully available. Leaders don't operate on demand. Creators don't respond instantly. Elites don't open their door to everyone. They filter. Filtering creates scarcity. Scarcity creates value. Value creates power. You don't need their permission. You don't need to explain your unavailability. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You don't need to apologize for protecting your time. Time is your most valuable resource. Anyone who has unlimited access to you will eventually treat you as disposable. That's the uncomfortable truth. Look at how power works in the real world. The CEO isn't easy to reach. The top performer isn't constantly available. The respected leader isn't endlessly responsive.
And because they are not easy to reach, people prepare before engaging. Preparation changes behavior. People show up sharper, more respectful, more intentional. That's the key. When you are always available, people waste your time. When you are selective, people value it. Availability signals desperation. Distance signals confidence. Confidence creates gravity. Gravity pulls people toward you. The wolf is seen when it chooses. Let's talk about distance. Distance is not absence, it's selectivity. You are present where it matters, absent where it doesn't. That distinction alone changes your entire dynamic. Most people fear distance because they fear losing relevance. They think, if I'm not available, I'll be forgotten. Wrong. If you are always available, you are taken for granted. Scarcity creates relevance. That's the key. Look at creators who exploded in influence. They didn't post endlessly. They didn't respond to everyone. They didn't explain everything. They appeared, they delivered value, they disappeared. That rhythm builds anticipation. Anticipation builds loyalty. Loyalty builds power. You have a choice. You can chase attention, or you can attract it. Chasing puts you below. Attracting puts you above. Control access and attention follows. It always does. In leadership, access is authority. If anyone can walk into your space at any time, your authority erodes. If every request gets an immediate yes, your standards collapse. Boundaries protect leadership. You decide when you are reachable. You decide what needs to be responded to. You decide who gets your time. That's not arrogance, that's a command. It's not about ego, it's about structure. It's not about isolation, it's about intention. It's not about distance, it's about gravity. That's the key.
People respect what they must earn. Easy access requires no respect. The wolf does not make itself easy to find. It leaves signs, it leaves an impact, but it chooses when to appear. That choice is power. Let's make this practical. From today forward, you audit access. You look at who can reach you, when they can reach you, why can they reach you. You remove default availability. No more instant replies. No more open door policy for everyone. No more endless responsiveness. You create windows. Windows of availability. Windows of focus. Windows of rest. And outside those windows, you are unreachable. That's the discipline. It's not about being unavailable. It's about being intentional. It's not about ignoring. It's about prioritizing. It's not about distance. It's about direction. That's the key. You also stop overcommitting. Every yes costs you something. Every yes steals time from something else. If you say yes to everything, you stand for nothing. Powerful people say no easily, not emotionally, not aggressively, simply, clearly. No is a complete sentence. You don't need their permission. You don't need to soften it. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to explain it. Your time is not a public resource. It is private capital. Spend it carefully. When you control access, something shifts internally. You stop feeling rushed. You stop feeling reactive. You stop feeling drained. Your energy consolidates. Consolidated energy becomes a force. That's power. The wolf is calm because it is not constantly interrupted. It moves when it chooses. It rests when it chooses. It hunts when it chooses. Choice is freedom. Freedom is strength. Availability also trains people how to treat you. If you respond instantly, they expect instant access. If you delay thoughtfully, they adjust.
Adjustment is respect. Respect is power. That's the key. You are not here to be convenient. You are here to be effective. Convenience serves others. Effectiveness serves outcomes. Power serves outcomes. You have a choice. You can be constantly reachable, or you can be consistently impactful. One scatters you. The other concentrates on you. Concentration builds dominance. This chapter is about reclaiming control over your time and presence, about deciding when you are seen, about choosing where your energy goes, about understanding that distance is not loss, it is leverage. The wolf is seen when it chooses. You've learned to stop explaining. You've learned to accept dislike. You've learned silence. You've learned restraint. You've learned emotional control. Now you've learned access. But power is also tested when resources are scarce, when attention is limited, when pressure is high, when benefits disappear. That's when true loyalty reveals itself. You controlled access. Now let's expose alliances.
Chapter 7. Loyalty is tested in scarcity. Listen carefully, because this chapter separates the naive from the dangerous, the weak from the aware, the follower of the wolf. Loyalty is not proven in comfort. It is not proven when everyone is winning. It is not proven when resources are flowing, attention is abundant, and power is easy to access. Loyalty is tested in scarcity. When there is less money, less time, less status, less attention, less opportunity, that's when the masks fall. You have a choice. You can keep believing words,
Or you can start reading behavior. That's the key. Most people learn this lesson too late. They confuse proximity with loyalty. They confuse familiarity with allegiance. They confuse shared history with shared values. It's not about trust, it's about discernment. And discernment only activates under pressure. The illusion of loyalty in abundance. When times are good, everyone smiles. Everyone supports you. Everyone agrees with your vision. Why wouldn't they? There's something to gain. Access, money, validation, status by association. People don't show you who they are when they're comfortable. They show you who they are when comfort is removed. You have a choice. You can keep rewarding presence, or you can start rewarding principles. That's the key. Scarcity removes incentives, and when incentives disappear, truth appears. When there is nothing to gain, who stays? Repeat that, slowly. When there is nothing to gain, who stays? That question alone will save you years of betrayal.
Pressure reveals what they truly value. Under pressure, people reveal what they truly value, not what they say they value. What do they act to protect? When resources shrink, some people protect the mission. Others protect themselves. When attention fades, some stay aligned. Others drift toward brighter lights. When power shifts, some adapt with integrity. Others switch sides without hesitation. You have a choice. You can take this personally, or you can take it strategically. That's the key. Wolves don't cry about betrayal. They study it. They observe patterns. They log behavior. They adjust positioning. It's not about bitterness. It's about intelligence. How wolves identify betrayal early. Wolves don't wait for the knife in the back. They notice the hesitation in the front, the delayed response, the selective availability, the sudden silence when things get hard. They watch how people behave when the reward is removed, when there's no applause, no immediate benefit, no audience. That's when loyalty speaks. You don't need their permission to observe. You don't need their permission to step back. You don't need their permission to recalibrate trust. That's the key. Most people ignore early signs because they're emotionally invested. They don't want to be wrong. They don't want to feel alone. They don't want to lose the illusion of alliance. It's not about fear. It's about discipline. Scarcity is the truth serum. Scarcity doesn't create bad behavior. It reveals it. Pressure doesn't change people. It unmasks them. When resources are limited, people make choices faster, cleaner, more honest. They show you exactly who they're loyal to. And often, it's not you. It's not the mission. It's not the values. It's their comfort, their image, their self-interest. You have a choice. You can resent this reality, or you can use it. That's the key. Scarcity is not a curse. It's a filter. The difference between allies and passengers. Allies contribute when it costs them something. Passengers disappear when the ride gets rough. Allies ask, how do we solve this? Passengers ask, how does this affect me? Allies lean in during uncertainty. Passengers wait to see which way the wind blows. You don't need more people. You need fewer, stronger bonds. It's not about popularity. It's about alignment. That's the key. A wolf would rather walk alone than be surrounded by liabilities. Stop confusing longevity with loyalty. Just because someone has been around a long time doesn't mean they're loyal. Time measures exposure, not commitment. Some people stay close because it's convenient, because it's familiar, because they haven't found a better option yet. Scarcity reveals this brutally. When a better option appears, they vanish. When the benefits dry up, they disengage. When pressure rises, they fold. You have a choice. You can cling to history, or you can prioritize behavior. That's the key. It's not about how long they've been there. It's about how they show up when it's hard. Real-world instruction. How to test loyalty without drama. Listen carefully. This is where transformation happens. You do not test loyalty with confrontation. You test it with observation. Step 1. Reduce availability. Not dramatically, not emotionally, strategically. Stop over-giving. Stop over-explaining. Stop over-accommodating. Step 2. Remove incentives. Stop offering immediate rewards. Stop chasing validation. Stop propping people up. Step 3. Watch behavior. Who stays consistent? Who grows distant? Who suddenly questions your decisions? That's your data. You don't need their permission to analyze. You don't need their permission to adjust access. That's the key. This isn't manipulation, it's leadership.
Loyalty is quiet. True loyalty doesn't announce itself. It doesn't perform. It doesn't demand recognition. It shows up. It follows through. It stays aligned when no one is watching. Fake loyalty is loud, performative, conditional. Real loyalty is boring, consistent, reliable, and it becomes visible only when there's nothing to gain. When there is nothing to gain, who stays? Say it again. When there is nothing to gain, who stays? Why betrayal hurts more than failure? Failure teaches lessons. Betrayal tests identity. Because betrayal forces you to confront a truth. You misjudged someone. That's painful, but necessary. You have a choice. You can let betrayal make you cynical, or you can let it make you precise. That's the key. Wolves don't stop trusting. They refine it. They don't close their hearts. They sharpen their boundaries. It's not about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear.
Scarcity builds the inner circle. Your inner circle should not be crowded. It should be curated. Few, tested, aligned. Scarcity does the vetting for you. When times get hard, most people remove themselves. They drift. They fade. They justify. Let them. You don't chase loyalty. You recognize it. You don't beg for alignment. You honor it when it appears. That's the key. Powerful people are not surrounded by many. They are surrounded by the right ones. Stop over-explaining to disloyal ears. When scarcity hits, some people will question your every move, not to understand, but to protect themselves. They will demand reassurance, clarity, proof. You don't owe explanations to those who haven't earned trust. You have a choice. You can over-explain out of fear, or you can stand firm in silence. That's the key. It's not about arrogance. It's about boundaries.
The cost of ignoring scarcity signals. Ignore scarcity signals, and you pay later. With energy, with time, with betrayal at the worst possible moment. Wolves pay attention early so they don't bleed later. They don't wait for collapse. They adjust to friction. It's not about paranoia. It's about pattern recognition. That's the key. Loyalty is a long game. Real loyalty compounds over time, but only after being tested, not once, repeatedly, through wins and losses, through growth and contraction, through abundance and scarcity. Anyone can be loyal when it's easy. Only a few are loyal when it's costly. When there is nothing to gain, who stays? That question never expires. Final integration. Scarcity is your ally. Scarcity is not your enemy. It's your ally. It reveals the truth, refines alliances, sharpens leadership, You have a choice. You can fear being alone, or you can fear being surrounded by the wrong people. That's the key. Wolves don't fear scarcity. They use it to identify the pack. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be effective. And effectiveness requires clarity. You've learned how loyalty is tested. You've learned how pressure reveals truth. You've learned how scarcity filters alliances. Now comes the final evolution. You've mastered your emotions. You've controlled access. You've identified loyalty under pressure. Now you must learn the ultimate discipline that protects all of it. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is power. Chapter 8. Strike decisively or don't strike at all. Listen closely. This chapter is not about violence. It's about intent. It's about execution. It's about the difference between winners and casualties. Hesitation is not neutral. Hesitation is a signal. And the moment you hesitate, you invite resistance. You invite counterattack. You invite delay, doubt, and destruction. Power does not reward half steps. Power rewards clarity, speed, finality. The wolf does not wound, it ends. That is not cruelty. That is a strategy. You have a choice. Act fully or don't act at all. That's the key. The danger of the half move. Most people don't fail because they act. They fail because they act halfway. They announce before they execute. They threaten instead of moving. They test instead of committing. They try. They consider. They wait for the right moment. And in that waiting, they lose. It's not about timing. It's about decisiveness. That's the key. A half move exposes your intent without delivering results. It alerts opponents. It drains momentum. It creates openings for sabotage. You don't need their permission to move. You don't need their approval to decide. The wolf does not wound. It ends. Why hesitation invites counterattack. In nature, weakness is not punished morally. It's punished practically. When an animal hesitates, predators notice. When a leader hesitates, rivals prepare. When you hesitate, resistance organizes. Hesitation tells the world you are unsure, and uncertainty attracts pressure. People push where you pause. They challenge where you stall. They undermine where you delay. You have a choice: signal strength or broadcast doubt. That's the key. Decisive action shuts down opposition before it forms. Missed opportunities are almost always hesitation-based. Look back at your life, not emotionally, objectively. The job you didn't apply for, the business you delayed launching, the boundary you failed to enforce, the decision you postponed until it was made for you. Those weren't losses of ability, they were losses of nerve. It's not about talent, it's about commitment. That's the key. Opportunity rewards speed, not perfection. The wolf does not wait for ideal conditions, it moves when the opening appears. Decisive domination versus lingering conflict. Decisive action ends problems. Indecision prolongs them. When you address an issue fully, it disappears. When you address it partially, it mutates. Unclear boundaries invite repeated violations. Soft decisions invite hard consequences. Delayed strikes create long wars. You have a choice: end it cleanly or manage it endlessly. That's the key. The wolf does not wound, it ends. Not because it enjoys ending things, because unfinished threats return stronger. The cost of keeping options open. People love to say, "I'm keeping my options open." What they mean is, "I'm afraid to commit." Options feel safe. Commitment feels risky. But power comes from commitment, not optionality. When you keep options open too long, they close themselves. When you refuse to choose, you lose agency. It's not about flexibility, it's about decisiveness. That's the key. Wolves choose a direction and move. They adjust while moving. They don't freeze waiting for certainty.
Real power is finality. Finality creates respect. Clarity creates authority. People trust leaders who decide. Even if the decision is imperfect, people lose faith in leaders who hesitate, even if their intentions are good. You don't need their permission to decide. You don't need consensus to lead. That's the key. The wolf does not wound. It ends. And once something is ended, energy is freed. Emotional hesitation versus strategic patience. Let's be precise. This is not about recklessness. This is not about impulsivity. There is a difference between patience and hesitation. Patience is controlled waiting with intent. Hesitation is fear disguised as analysis. Patience observes silently. Hesitation leaks uncertainty. Patience strikes when conditions align. Hesitation delays even when conditions are clear. You have a choice. Wait with purpose or stall from fear. That's the key. The wolf waits, but when it moves fully. When you must strike. You strike when a boundary has been crossed. A decision has already been made internally. An opportunity has a closing window. A threat is forming, not imaginary. And when you strike once. Clean, decisive, final. No warnings, no drama, no explanations. You don't need their permission. The wolf does not wound, it ends. Real-world instruction. How to act decisively. This is where transformation happens. Step 1. Decide in private. No audience, no debate, no emotional leakage. Step 2. Remove alternatives. Burn the exits. Close the mental back doors. Options weaken execution. Commitment strengthens it. Step 3. Act swiftly. Not rushed, but without delay. Speed kills resistance. Step 4. Do not revisit the decision emotionally. No second guessing, no justification tours. That's the key. Decisions lose power when you relive them. Why people fear decisive action? Because decisive action creates enemies. It disappoints some people. It ends in comfort. But trying to please everyone creates chaos. Trying to offend no one creates weakness. You have a choice. Be respected or be tolerated. That's the key. Wolves are not tolerated. They are accounted for. The myth of soft power without backbone. Soft power only works when backed by hard resolve. Kindness without boundaries is submission. Patience without limits is avoidance. You can be calm and decisive, quiet and final, respectful and immovable. It's not about aggression, it's about resolving. That's the key. The wolf does not wound, it ends. Decisiveness protects your energy. Lingering decisions drain energy. Unfinished conflicts occupy mental space. Open loops exhaust focus. Decisive action closes loops. It frees your mind, sharpens your presence, restores momentum. You have a choice. Carry unfinished battles or end them. That's the key. Momentum favors the bold. The illusion of one more chance. One more chance is often fear talking. Fear of confrontation,
fear of being disliked, fear of finality. Patterns don't change with chances, they change with consequences. The wolf does not negotiate endlessly. It observes, then it decides, and when it decides, it ends the pattern. When decisiveness changes your identity. Once you start acting decisively, something shifts. People stop testing you. Opportunities approach you differently. Your self-respect solidifies. You begin to trust yourself. That's the real reward. It's not about dominance, it's about alignment between thought and action. That's the key. Stop announcing, start executing. Announcing plans invites interference. Explaining decisions invites debate. Silence plus action creates shock. Shock creates advantage. You don't need their permission. You don't need validation. The wolf moves quietly. Then it's done.
The cost of wounding instead of ending. When you wound instead of end, conflicts resurface, people retaliate, situations escalate. Half measures create long-term problems. Ending creates short-term discomfort, but long-term clarity. You have a choice, short pain or long suffering. That's the key. Final integration. Become known for finality. Let this be your reputation. When you decide, it's done. When you move, it's complete. When you act, it's final. Not loud, not dramatic, precise. The wolf does not wound, it ends. You are not here to hesitate your way through life. You are here to execute with clarity. You've learned to master emotion. You've learned to control access. You've learned to test loyalty. You've learned to strike decisively. Now comes the discipline that holds all power together. Because after decisive action, there must be silence. And silence is where dominance settles. You've struck cleanly. You've ended what needed to end. Now, learn how to let silence do the rest.
Chapter 9. Become necessary, not nice. Listen carefully. This chapter will change how you move in the world. Niceness is optional. Usefulness is irreplaceable. Read that again. Niceness gets you thanked. Usefulness gets you protected. And power does not come from being liked. Power comes from being needed. That's the key. You have a choice. Be pleasant and disposable, or be essential and untouchable. They don't respect you, they need you. The lie you were taught about niceness. You were told to be agreeable, to be helpful, to be liked. You were told niceness would open doors. It doesn't. Niceness makes you easy to ignore, easy to replace, easy to overlook. The world does not reward kindness. It rewards leverage. It's not about being rude. It's about being relevant. That's the key. The wolf is not nice. The wolf is necessary. Why niceness weakens your position. Nice people seek approval. Necessary people command attention. Nice people adjust themselves to fit others. Necessary people shape the environment. Nice people apologize for existing. Necessary people are accounted for. You have a choice. Be emotionally comfortable or strategically valuable. That's the key. When you are nice, people feel good around you. When you are necessary, people think twice before crossing you. They don't respect you, they need you. The power shift that happens when you become useful. The moment you solve a real problem, power shifts. Not someday, immediately. Meetings change tone. Conversations shorten. People listen differently. Why? Because you are no longer optional.
You don't need their permission to take up space. Your value justifies your presence. That's the key. Power is not granted by titles. It is granted by dependency.
Niceness is a strategy of the replaceable. Harsh truth. People who lean on niceness usually lack leverage. They compensate with friendliness, with compliance, with emotional labor. They smile more, they explain more, they tolerate disrespect, because they know, subconsciously, they can be replaced. It's not about kindness, it's about insecurity. That's the key. The wolf does not charm the forest. It survives because removing it has consequences. Becoming necessary changes how people treat you. When you are necessary, your time is respected, your boundaries are honored, your words carry weight. When you are nice, your time is wasted, your boundaries are tested, your words are negotiated. You have a choice. Be appreciated or be indispensable. That's the key. They don't respect you, they need you.
The difference between being liked and being valued. Being liked is emotional. Being valued is structural. Likes fade. Value remains. People like many. They depend on a few. Your goal is not popularity. Your goal is positioning. It's not about charm. It's about contribution. That's the key. Wolves are not adored. They are accounted for. Real-world examples of necessary power. Look at any environment. The quiet expert who fixes impossible problems, the operator who knows systems that no one else understands, the leader who makes hard calls that others avoid. They are not always warm, they are not always liked, but they are protected, because removing them creates pain. You don't need their permission to become valuable. You need discipline. That's the key. How dependency creates authority. Authority follows dependency. If your absence creates chaos, you have power. If your absence goes unnoticed, you don't. It's not about ego, it's about impact. Ask yourself honestly, what breaks if I leave? That question reveals everything. You have a choice. Be pleasant background noise or become a pressure point. That's the key. They don't respect you, they need you. The trap of emotional labor. Nice people overgive emotionally. They listen endlessly. They reassure constantly. They smooth every discomfort. And in doing so, they drain themselves. Necessary people give results, not emotional babysitting. It's not about being cold, it's about being effective. That's the key. The wolf does not soothe the forest, it shapes it. Transformation rule. Replace niceness with competence. This is where action begins. Step 1. Stop trying to be liked. That includes tone policing yourself. That includes unnecessary apologies. Step 2. Identify one problem people avoid. One bottleneck. One pain point. Step 3. Master it. Relentlessly. Skill creates leverage. Leverage creates respect. That's the key. You don't need their permission to become competent. Why competence intimidates the insecure. Here's what no one tells you. As you become necessary, some people will dislike you more. Good. Your growth exposes their stagnation. They preferred you when you were nice. Because nice people don't threaten positions. But necessary people shift hierarchies. You have a choice. Shrink to stay liked, or rise and be needed. That's the key.
The illusion of team player niceness. Teams say they want collaboration. What they reward is contribution.
Results get remembered. Smiles get forgotten. Be cooperative, but be essential. Be respectful, but be irreplaceable. It's not about arrogance. It's about value density. That's the key. The wolf runs with the pack, but the pack knows its role. How to set boundaries without being liked. Necessary people don't over-explain boundaries. They state them. Then they enforce them. They don't argue. They don't justify. You don't need their permission to protect your time. Your value already earned that right. That's the key. Niceness negotiates boundaries. Necessity enforces them. When niceness becomes a liability. In moments of pressure, niceness collapses. When resources are scarce, when the stakes are high, when decisions hurt, nice people hesitate. Necessary people act. That's why leadership flows to usefulness, not warmth. It's not about empathy. It's about execution. That's the key. They don't respect you. They need you. Becoming necessary requires long-term discipline. This is not a hack. This is not a trick. Becoming necessary takes time, repetition, focus. You must outwork distractions, outlast boredom, outgrow validation. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. That's the key. Wolves don't rush dominance. They build it. Stop advertising niceness. Start demonstrating value. Talking about how helpful you are weakens you. Demonstrating impact strengthens you. Let outcomes speak. Let absence be felt. Silence plus results equals authority. You don't need their permission to stop explaining your worth. Your work speaks. That's the key. Why being needed feels uncomfortable at first. Because it removes anonymity. It raises expectations. It creates responsibility. But comfort was never the goal. Strength was. You have a choice. Stay safe and unnoticed, or step into pressure and matter. That's the key. The wolf carries responsibility because the pack depends on it. Final integration. Necessary is the highest form of power. Let this sink in. People can dislike you and still protect you. They can disagree with you and still rely on you. That is power. Not affection. No approval. Dependency. They don't respect you. They need you. And when you are needed, your silence weighs more. Your absence speaks louder. Your decisions ripple outward. You've learned to strike decisively. Now you've learned why your strikes matter. But there is one final discipline, the one that separates temporary power from legacy dominance. Because power that isn't sustained collapses. You've become necessary. Now you must learn how to endure.
Chapter 10. Walk alone without fear. Listen carefully, because this is the final lesson, the one that binds every rule you've learned into unshakable dominance. Independence is the ultimate form of power. No network, no validation, no permission required. The lone wolf is not lonely, he is free. Repeat it slowly. The lone wolf is not lonely, he is free. You have a choice. Follow the herd, or walk alone and define your path. That's the key. Why independence is the final form of power. All previous lessons, decisiveness, necessity, loyalty, patience, silence, they culminate here. Because when you depend on others for direction, for approval, for security, you give away power. When you walk alone, you reclaim it. It's not about isolation, it's about autonomy. It's about being untethered to opinion, trend, or comfort. You have a choice. Carry the weight of the crowd, or carry the weight of your mission. That's the key. The lone wolf is not lonely, he is free.
The herd weakens you. People will tell you what to do. People will shame you for not conforming. People will demand your energy, your time, and your agreement. Following them seems safe. It feels comfortable. It masks fear. But comfort kills power. Herds chase safety. Wolves chase results. It's not about being liked. It's about being relentless. You have a choice. Stay among the crowd or rise above it. That's the key. The lone wolf is not lonely. He is free. Emotional detachment as strength. The crowd thrives on emotion, drama, validation, approval. The lone wolf watches, calculates, moves silently. Emotion clouds judgment. It invites manipulation. It creates dependency. You have a choice. React to noise or act on strategy. That's the key. Detach from emotional chaos. Detach from emotional expectation. Detach from emotional compromise. The lone wolf is not lonely. He is free.
The courage to stand alone. Walking alone is not easy. It is uncomfortable. It tests confidence. It triggers fear. But courage is forged in solitude. You will be misunderstood, ignored, challenged, mocked, and that is perfect, because fear is the chain that binds the herd. Courage is the key that unlocks freedom. You have a choice. Blend with the fearful or stand where few dare to walk. That's the key. The lone wolf is not lonely. He is free. How solitude amplifies power. Solitude is the ultimate amplifier. It sharpens focus. It strengthens resolve. It crystallizes clarity. Alone, you are no longer distracted by others' agendas. Alone, you hear your instincts. Alone, you see an opportunity the herd cannot perceive. It's not about isolation. It's about elevation. You have a choice. Let the herd dictate your pace or dictate your pace yourself. That's the key. The lone wolf is not lonely. He is free.
Independence in action. Independence is not passive. It is deliberate. Step 1. Reduce reliance on validation. Stop asking for permission to act. Stop seeking approval to move. Step 2. Limit unnecessary connections. Surround yourself with only what is necessary for your mission, not emotional comfort, not casual attention. Step 3. Embrace accountability to yourself alone. Your goals, your standards, your results. You have a choice. Depend on approval or depend on yourself. That's the key. The lone wolf is not lonely. He is free. The price of walking alone. Yes, walking alone is demanding. No cheering crowds, no safety net, no constant support. It will test your patience, your confidence, your discipline. But this is the price of power. Comfort is cheap. Freedom is earned. You have a choice. Pay the price or pay with mediocrity. That's the key. The lone wolf is not lonely. He is free.
Lessons from nature. Observe the wild. The lone wolf does not wander aimlessly. It hunts strategically. It observes carefully. It moves with purpose. It is respected by the pack, not because it seeks attention, but it demonstrates ability, strength, and independence. You have a choice. Seek the herd's applause or earn silent respect. That's the key. The lone wolf is not lonely, he's free. Independence over popularity. Popularity is temporary. Independence is enduring. People will chase you when you are useful. People will forget you when you are compliant. Do not mistake being liked for being powerful. Do not mistake agreement for authority. Your authority comes from your choices, your independence, your courage to stand alone. You have a choice: blend with approval or stand with power. That's the key. The lone wolf is not lonely, he is free. How to walk alone without fear. Step 1. Accept solitude as a tool, not a punishment. Step 2. Silence your need for validation. Step 3. Take full responsibility for your results. Step 4. Refuse to compromise clarity for comfort. You have a choice. Fear the isolation or harness it. That's the key. The lone wolf is not lonely, he is free. Transformation through independence. Once you walk alone without fear, you make decisions faster. You think more clearly. You act stronger. No distraction, no unnecessary compromise, no emotional shackles. Power flows to those who can stand alone and endure. You have a choice: blend or lead. That's the key. The lone wolf is not lonely, he is free. Final integration. Freedom is your reward. Every lesson in this book, discipline, decisiveness, necessity, loyalty, and patience, leads here. To walk alone, without fear, without apology, without dependence. You have mastered your impulses. You have controlled access. You have become necessary. Now you must stand unshakable. Freedom is the ultimate power. Independence is the final form of authority. You have a choice: follow the crowd or stand alone and rise. That's the key. The lone wolf is not lonely, he is free. Now take everything you've learned, integrate it, act, decide, dominate, and remember the words that will guide you through every challenge, every opportunity, every threat. The lone wolf is not lonely, he is free. This is not the end, it is the beginning. The moment you walk alone, you walk with power. The moment you embrace independence, you own your life. You have been transformed. Now go, stand alone, fear nothing, rule everything. You now understand what most people never will. Power does not come from being good, it comes from being capable. It does not come from asking, it comes from taking responsibility for outcomes. You were never meant to blend in, explain yourself, or beg for approval. You were meant to sharpen your mind, harden your discipline, and move with intention. The world will not change for you, but it will respond to who you become. So, here is your challenge. Stop seeking permission. Stop chasing validation. Stop living like prey. Decide today to think like a wolf, move like a wolf, and quietly dominate your territory. Because the moment you choose power, the hunt begins.